Hey, Daniel. Hey, stand up. That was a very not nicely filmed hug, but anyway. So now you can sit down again. So I'm here at Daniel Rybakken's studio here in Göteborg. So how long have you lived here now in Göteborg?
Well, let's see. I first went to Gothenburg as an exchange student in 2006, and then I came back in 2008 and been here ever since.
Well, you're welcome to come to our wonderful. I need to stand up because I'm too far away from you. So, Daniel, you are a Norwegian designer living in Sweden, and you do. I think you're best known as a light designer. Are you?
Yeah, it kind of started with that, and then that was kind of like the project that I got from there. People started seeing me as only a lighting designer. So
I'm trying to film your lights in the background. That's the one that you did for Luchaplan, was it? That was a few years ago.
yeah, that was. I think I started in 2010, and then it was launched in 11, I think, and this year it received the Compasso d'Oro.
Ah, that's a good design award, isn't it? Yeah, I'm very, very happy for you. So, Daniel, light designer and everything. What are you doing here? What's next for Daniel Rybakken?
Well, let's see. To begin with, right now I'm actually on a parental leave, so I'm trying to, not do that many things. But in the future, I think you'll see pieces that are not necessarily only lighting, maybe even furniture.
Interesting. So, but you did some things also before that wasn't only lighting. For instance, the mirrors that was launched like 2 years ago, 3 years ago.
Yeah, I've done a couple of mirrors, and but in a way they all have a link to lighting. They all reflect light, and the light and shadow cast by the object is part of the installation.
Super. So you do a lot of fairs. Or the first few times we met, you did the Salone Satellite. Are fairs important in your industry?
Yes, they're actually the most important for me. I've always had Milano as the deadline for project, and it started with Salon Satellite. Each year doing that for several years, and always try to do new pieces for that. And that's basically where I present new.
Do you do? I mean, before we started turning the camera on, we started about doing things for galleries. Do you do gallery works as well?
Yeah, that was actually how I started. I did more conceptual pieces for galleries, but then I felt that I needed to do more and more commercial objects just to survive. So that's what you see around me.
That's the balance of creative work and commercial work. You've sold. I remember that we talked like a few years ago. You were about to sell one of your pieces to the National Arts Museum of Norway. Do you still sell a lot of like design art pieces to museums as well?
Yeah, well, actually, right now I'm applying for a scholarship kind of thing in Norway, and I had to list all of the things that I've sold to the National Museum in Norway, and the list is quite big now. So yeah.
So you're sharing your studio with Stefan Holm. He's not here. Where is he?
He's in Tokyo actually.
What's he doing there? Why isn't he here when Trendstefan TV is here?
Well, he's doing a project there with a colleague of his that he did the Newton table many years ago. So he's doing a new project with him.
But you're based here in Göteborg, and Stefan Holm is then, of course, from the region. Is it different? How's the atmosphere differing from Göteborg to, for instance, Stockholm?
Well, I never really worked in Stockholm, but what I see is that I think a lot of designers in Stockholm want to be the biggest designer in Stockholm. Kind of like Stockholm is a big focus for them, but being a designer from Gothenburg, being the biggest designer in Gothenburg really doesn't matter because it's so small anyway. So I think that designers working from Gothenburg has a bigger focus maybe on places abroad, you know.
We talked also about you getting a lot of international visits here. You get more visitors from like France than from Stockholm. Is it so?
Yeah, you're one of the few Stockholmers that visited me. So no, but we have had a lot of, you know, Italians, Germans, British people. So yeah,
So Stockholmers are lazy, I guess.
maybe it's the SJ's fault. Yeah, yeah.
Well, anyway, I mean, being in a Norwegian designer, living and working in Sweden, are you then the typical Scandinavian designer then?
That's kind of a hard question to answer, since, you know, as we talked about, the design area has become quite international. But I think if you say that Scandinavian design is quite minimalistic and share some references with Asian design, I would say that, yeah, that, you know, the minimalism found can also be found in my work. So yeah, in a way, I would say. What do you think?
Ah, finally, someone's asking me some questions. I do think absolutely the reducedness of your lights are, and working with lights, I think lights are extremely important to us in the Scandinavian region. So, yeah, absolutely. I think we could need more poetic design work with light. But then again, that's what makes you stand out, because a lot of design from this region is very like functional rather than poetic.
Yeah, I think we need to redefine the word function. You know, function isn't only that I can hang my jacket on this, or it gives me light to read. Function can also be other needs like poetic, how we can change the atmosphere or feeling. And I think that is what quite Scandinavian is, that we are quite affected by light and the lack of light during, you know, autumn and winter. So I think it's very important for us to include that within the term function.
But that was one of your student projects, wasn't it? Then when you actually were working with the same sort of room but different lighting, or am I mistaken?
No, that probably one of the first projects that you saw, the subconscious effect of daylight. My thesis there. Yeah.
Well, good. Good luck for. And when are we going to see something next from Daniel Rybakken? Is it going to be for the fairs in Stockholm in February, or is it Milan in April?
It's not really up to me. It's up to Lucheplan. Might be a new product launched in Stockholm, but the big releases will be Milan 2015.
you, Sarah, for having the mic for me. So, hi, I'm here with Kieran Long from the Victoria and Albert Museum. Welcome to Stockholm and welcome to Design Galleriet. How are you?
I'm very well. Thanks for having us here. It's great.
You're here to scout something for April. What is that you're scouting for?
So we're bringing a bunch of people who support the V&A to Stockholm to just kind of try and understand a bit better the contemporary design scene here. So I'm here visiting a bunch of studios and galleries and museums and places like this to see how we can best tell that story in a couple of days and 3 days of a visit in April. So it's a very nice, luxurious time of visiting people in their studios and having nice conversations.
So is it important to bring like supporters like that for trips like this?
We do a lot of that kind of thing, and sometimes they're about sort of historical themes if we're trying to, perhaps buy pieces for a particular gallery or particular, historical periods of the V&A's collection. But I'm, of course, fairly new to the V&A, thinking about contemporary design, and we want to tell a different kind of story. We've done contemporary design trips before to other places, to the Netherlands and so on, but I really wanted to bring people to Stockholm. I love Stockholm. I have, lots of connections with this place, so I was really keen to bring a trip here so we could just help people understand what Sweden really gives to the world design scene, which I think is really significant.
So where are you taking them? I mean, this should be like a fairly important group of people.
Yeah, it's an important group of people, and they have, a really keen interest in design of all kinds. So we're taking them to a bunch of studios. So we've been visiting with, Monica Förster, Classico Vista Runa, with Front, with a bunch of studios pretty established, who for me kind of define the kind of global brand of what Swedish design is, the best of what Swedish design is today. They're fantastic names and unbelievable privilege to see inside their offices and just get their take on what they do. And then we're hoping also to sort of mix in a few newer names. We're thinking of Note Design, which I know you've had here in the gallery, and perhaps some others, really just to try and give a rounded sense. And then also we'll be visiting galleries, museums, getting that institutional context. And by the end of it, we hope these people will really sort of understand something about Stockholm's contribution to European design,
And what is that contribution then, Kieran?
Yeah, I mean, that's a big question, right? I think when you come from England, the thing you always strikes you about coming here is how obviously continuous the kind of modern project was, and that's not in any way, we had in Britain a very clear break in modernism where somehow taste-wise, somehow politically, it just didn't fit anymore, and it all went away. The great sort of British modernism sort of thing that happened after the war sort of went away. In Sweden, it didn't go away. There's an amazing continuous line. I also think when you talk to people like, say, Thomas Sandell and others, you realize that their education has been, at every scale of design, and we don't really have that so much anymore in Britain. So for me, it's about that still existing modernist project, but also, of course, the amazing diversity of contemporary Swedish design. If you think of Front, who I have like a good relationship with, of course, with my wife Sophia's in Front, but Front are to me both working out of a Swedish context, but also very postmodern designers taking their influences from anywhere they find them, and that excites me too. So that continuity with the modern project, and also that kind of incredible outward lookingness that Swedish design has, I think is really interesting.
What was the last sort of like Swedish design piece you brought home?
The last
not for the museum, but for your from yourself.
So the last thing I brought home was actually the last Scandinavian design piece. I bought some glassware by what's his name, the Tapio Vekala. And Tapio Vekala for me, I absolutely love. I mean, I know it's not it's obviously a really common name, but I love how sort of 1970s it feels, like on the edge of bad taste, but also materially so rich, and just the Nubber glasses. They're just amazing. So just an Itala thing, but absolutely beautiful.
And for the museum then?
So for the museum, actually, the museum has an amazing history in collecting Scandinavian design, particularly Swedish design. If you go into our 20th century galleries, there's an incredible story about how Swedish design actually influenced Britain. But actually the most significant piece we've taken in recently, which I must say has nothing to do with me, was a piece of Front furniture, part of their sketch furniture, which is obviously in museum collections all over the world, and we were lucky to get one before they're all sold. So a sketch, the chair, a piece of the sketch furniture feels like one of the most significant moments of design that's come out of Sweden in the last 10 or 15 years.
Absolutely, I love that piece as well. Well, I'm gonna rush you off because I guess I know you have a busy schedule, and
Thanks for having us here.
Well, welcome back. I'll see you in April then, I guess, and we're gonna update you on the shopping list then.
Look forward to it.
Thank you.
Great.